Ah, Today's our chapter is chemical bonding. Chemical bonding. In this chapter, what we have to learn, that is why atoms are combining, why atoms are combining, why atoms are unstable, why they are combining to form molecules, when they combining. Okay. Now, what are the structures of these molecules? What are the structures of these molecules? All these are here in this chapter, and detailedly we will explain. Okay. So before entering into the chapter, we should learn, we must know about the nature of the chemicals. Nature of the chemicals. What is that? That is, in our nature, some elements, a few elements in our nature in uncombined stage. That is noble gas elements. Nothing but helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon also sometimes that form compounds. Okay. So mostly helium, neon, argon, these three elements almost uncombined state. Itself they are stable. They don't combine with any others. They have inert behavior. So these are called as inert gases like that. But 99% elements not exist in our nature in free state. Always they combine with others to form a stable molecule those elements, because those elements itself they are unstable. To get stability, they combine with other elements. They combine with other elements. During their combinations, automatically some attractive forces operating between the atoms in the formation of those molecules. Here we are discussing about those attractive forces. What type of forces are existing between two or more atoms in the formation of the chemical bonds, in the formation of the compounds. So all we should learn in this chapter. Okay. So before entering that, so what is that? What is a chemical bond? So see here, boys, that is, let us consider an element A other than noble gas elements. Let us consider an element A. Itself it is unstable. Itself it is unstable. There is one more element, let it be B. It is also unstable. It is also unstable. But when they attract each other, they combine with each other, that form a new compound which is called as AB molecule, which is stable. That means why? This is A atom, it is B atom. Atom plus atom combination gives a molecule. A molecule. This molecule is stable, but these atoms are unstable. These atoms are unstable. Unstable atoms combine with each other to form a stable molecule. How, sir? Why atoms are combined? To get extra stable. Because unstable are converted into stable. Every species in our nature, you, me, whatever it may be, every species in our nature, always trying to attain stability. Always trying to attain stability. Why, sir? There we are stable. Everyone trying to try to get stability, either different ways. For example, I am working in Chaitanya for long back, so long years. Why, sir? Because I am stable here. I am satisfying here. So if I am unsatisfied, I am not retained here. So I am trying to choose one more place to get stability. Not only that, so you at a particular situation, you are maybe unstable. You move from that place to another place. That place you may be stable. Sir, why stable? Why when we are stable? when we are stable. The stability of the substance is mainly depending on energy of the substance. Energy of the substance. Any substance internally having less energy, internally, please be managed. Every substance internally having less energy or more stable. Less energy or more stable. If internal energy is less, stability is more. Because energy is less, we are not trying to move from one place to another place. That's why we are retained at one place because we are not moving it. So now that much energy is not available for moving. That's why we are stable at that position. That means any substance in our nature is very stable if it having least energy, less energy. That means not a zero energy. Every substance has its own chemical energy, its own energy. That may be least. That may be least. Okay. So less energy having more stability. For example, see here, boys. Here A, it has something energy. That energy, let it be 20 kilojoules of energy. It is high energy, boys. B, it has 30 kilojoules of energy. It is also high energy. So when they combine with each other, that means that converts into AB. Here 20 plus 30, total 50 kilojoules of energy substances are combined to form another substance AB. It may be either, that is 25 kilojoules of energy. That means 50 kilojoules of energy substances are converted into 25 kilojoules substances. That means when compared to reactants energy, products energy is less. Products energy is less. That means less energy. That means this substance having less energy. Less energy means more stable. Sir, what happened that remaining 25 kilojoules of energy? So that means here between A and B, a bond is formed. That means an attractive force is there. During this bond formation, something energy will be released. That is 25 kilojoules of energy is coming out from the substance. 25 kilojoules of energy coming out. That means something energy is released. That means energy release process. Energy release process is nothing but exothermic process. That means the bond formation between atoms is always exothermic. Bond formation between atoms is always exothermic. Okay, so during bond formation, energy should be released. That means, so internal energy of the substance automatically less. The remaining is coming out. That means less energy means more stable. Less energy means more stable. That means something force is operating between two atoms to combine those two atoms. So between these two atoms, these two are combined with each other. Some force of attraction existing between these two atoms. That force of attraction operating between two atoms in the molecule is nothing but a chemical bonding. This is called as a chemical bonding. Chemical bond formation always in released energy condition. So that means whenever a chemical bond is formed, always energy is released. Chemical bond formation is nothing but an exothermic reaction. Chemical bond formation is nothing but an exothermic reaction. So see here, boys, what happened actually. So before entering into the detailed topic, so first of all, we will define what is a chemical bond. So what is a chemical bond? So it is nothing but the force of attraction that holds two or more atoms or constituent particles or constituent particles, whatever it may be, atoms, ions, whatever it may be, constituent particles, the force of attraction that holds two or more atoms or constituent particles existing that holds is called as a chemical bond. The force of attraction that holds two or more atoms or constituent particles in a molecule is called as a chemical bond. So during the formation of molecule means it is a combination of two or more atoms. Molecule means it is a combination of two or more atoms. So between those atoms there is an attractive force. Those particles may be atoms or ions, whatever it may be. Okay, that force of attraction that holds those two or more atoms in a chemical molecule, is called as chemical bond. That is nothing but attractive. See what happened, how a chemical bond is formed. So chemical bond formation is always, already I told you, that is energy release process. So how a chemical bond is formed? Here, energetically we describe the bond. Energetically we will describe the bond. See here, that is. So please be considered, my boys. This is the concept. That is, I am trying to form H2 molecule. I am trying to form H2 molecule from this hydrogen atom and hydrogen atom. This is hydrogen atom. This is also hydrogen atom. These two atoms are unstable. This is to be stable. That means two unstable atoms of hydrogen combine with each other to form a stable molecule. That is H2 molecule. How it is happened? So that is, I explained with energy diagram. See boys. So this is hydrogen atom. This is hydrogen atom. These two are far away from each other. Please listen carefully. These two are far away from each other. That means between these two, no attractive force, no repulsive force exists. That much distance is called as infinite distance. That means there is no influence of one on another atom. Influence of one atom on another atom not available here. Not available here. That distance is called as infinite distance. Okay. Now we are trying to bring those atoms together. So after they attain a certain distance, this is moving like this, this is moving like this. After they attain a certain distance, so those are far away from each other. Those are far away from each other. So when atoms are far away from each other, there is an attractive force existing between those atoms. When atoms are far away, attractions are of dominates. When they are very near to each other, very near to each other, repulsion dominates. Why, sir? See here, what happened here. So this is hydrogen atom, boys. Hydrogen is atomic number 1H1, 1s1. That means this is hydrogen atom. It is its nucleus. It is its valence. This is another hydrogen atom. This is its nucleus. It is its valence. This is hydrogen atom. This is hydrogen atom. So for something, distance is there. So because of this, this electron is attracted by not only this nucleus and also with this nucleus. Because this is negative charge, this is positive charge, there is a possibility of attraction between electron of another atom and nucleus of first atom. Next, electron of first atom and nucleus of second atom. Between them, because the electron has negative charge, nucleus has positive charge. Electron has negative charge, nucleus has positive charge. Generally, this electron influenced by this nucleus, so there is no speciality. But this electron also attracted by this nucleus. That is special. And also this electron is attracted by this one. That means between these two atoms, there is an attractive force. So that attractive force existing between these two atoms. That means when atoms are far away, these attractive forces dominate. These attractive forces dominate. Now, when they are approaching each other, so for example, if these two are like this, they are very near to each other. This is the nucleus of the atom, this is the nucleus of the atom, this is the electron, this is the electron. So when they are approaching each other, between this nucleus and nucleus, there exists repulsions. There exists, between this electron and this electron, there exists repulsions. These repulsions dominate when they are nearer to each other. These attractive forces dominate when they are far away from each other. Far away from each other. That is why atoms not too much far away and not too much close to each other. So when they are close to each other, that means repulsions dominates. When we are far away from each other, attractions dominates. That is why they are at equilibrium distance. At equilibrium distance, attractive forces is equal to repulsive forces. That means atoms not too much close, not too much far away. They are at a certain distance. At a certain distance. At this distance, so attractions and repulsions balanced. That distance is called as equilibrium distance. That means this is the atom, hydrogen atom. This is the hydrogen atom. Here, attractive forces is equal to repulsive forces. Attractive forces is equal to repulsive forces. Here, H2 molecule formed. Here, H2 molecule is formed. Not too much close, not too much far away. So here, H2 molecule. That means equilibrium distance maintained. Equilibrium distance maintained. So that means when they are far away from each other, attractive forces are there. So where there is an attractive forces, automatically where there is an attraction, energy should be released. Am I correct? Where there is an attraction, energy should be released. So like that, because they are far away from each other, so they are attracted with each other. That means they lost their energy. Energy is released. Okay. So what happened? This is energetically how? What happened? That is graphically, I will explain the same concept, boys. Graphically, I will explain same concept. See here. Here, energy we are expressing in terms of potential energy. In terms of potential energy. See here. This is y-axis. On y-axis, potential energy I am taking. This is the direction in which potential energy increase. This is x-axis. This is x-axis, which is taken as internuclear distance. Internuclear distance. So generally, distance means either picometers, angstroms. Generally, we are taking it. Roughly, I am taking in picometers. In picometers, that internuclear distance is covered. See here, boys. So these are the two hydrogen atoms. These are the two hydrogen atoms far away from each other. This is the energy of these two hydrogen atoms. This is the energy. This is the energy of these two hydrogen atoms. So where atoms are far away from each other, so attractive forces or repulsive forces dominates? Tell me, boys. When atoms are far away from each other, attractive forces dominates or repulsive forces dominates? Tell me, waiting for you. Yes, attractive forces dominates. Attractive forces dominates. So that is why, so they are approaching each other, attraction cause takes place. Because of attraction, energy should be released. That means their energy gradually decreases. Their energy gradually decreases. So that means actually this much energy is there. Because they are approaching each other, energy gradually decreases and decreases to a least value. At this position, equilibrium distance between the atoms exists. Not too much far away, not too much close to each other. Equilibrium distance. Okay, so here, so when they are still approaching each other, there should be repulsion dominates. So because of that, their energy gradually increases. So that means when they are close packing with each other, That means when they are very close to each other, they have more energy. Repulsions dominates. More repulsions, more energy. More attractions, less energy. That means, so here is the actual position of the atoms, hydrogen atom, hydrogen atom. So here is the, when they are approaching close, so the energy least is at this position. Least energical position is this one. Here atoms not too much close, not too much far away from each other. This distance is called as equilibrium distance or equilibrium position. Equilibrium position. Here attractive forces is equal to repulsive forces. Where? So here attractive forces is equal to repulsive forces. That means at this position, so these two atoms are combined with each other. Automatically they are very stable. This is H2 molecule, boys. This is H2 molecule. That means something energy is decreased. See here, actually this much energy is there. So this much, that means something energy. This is the depth of the line. This much energy is decreased, boys. So actually this much energy is there. So that energy, is decreased to this much. So this is the new energy. So that means difference of these two energy. That means something energy is released. So because of this attraction, something energy is released. So automatically, so they reach some minimum distance. Not too much go. It is not going to be zero. Very, very important. Not going to be zero. So that means some minimum energy reached at that position. Equilibrium distance exists. So at that position, attractive forces is equal to repulsive forces. That position is called as equilibrium position. So that is the bond formation condition. Here H2 molecule is there. So not here, not here. Okay, these are the two important cases, and that means, so whenever a bond is formed between two atoms, whenever there is an attractive force existing between two atoms, that means those two atoms are the two or more atoms, not too much close to each other. Why? Not too much close to each other, not too much far away from each other. Not too much close to each other, not too much far away from each other. So it is very, very important. It is very, very important. Okay. So please be conscious. Why, sir? Why, sir? So atoms, these are atoms and these are atoms and here these are atoms. Atoms have more charge, more size, more energy. They approach each other. They are combined with each other. That means so their energy is decreased. Their energy is decreased. Okay, that's why when they are approaching each other, attractive forces and attraction is there between those two atoms. Attraction is there. Because of that attraction, energy gradually decreases. Where there is an attraction, energy decreases. Energy decreases to reach to minimum distance, minimum energy. So still they are approaching, repulsion dominates. So automatically their energy increases. So increase to greatest value. So when they are very, very close to each other, very, very close to each other. So that means, so least, wherever least energy is there, that molecule is stable. That position is stable. That means our bond is at here and not there. At here and so during bond formation, energy should be decreased. During bond formation, energy should be decreased. This is called as a chemical bond formation. So it is just like the formation of hydrogen molecule. So like this, other molecules are also possible. That means it is very, very, very important. It is, this graph is very, very important. So is there any doubt, boys? So before entering into the chapter, we need some technical words. We need to identify, we need to know some technical words. What are those? That is octet rule and valence. So that's why I'm trying to explain that octet rule and valence. That is valency. So what is valency? Valence is nothing but combining capacity of an atom. That means atoms combine with each other, with two or more atoms. So that combining capacity of an element, atom of an element, is nothing but valency of that particular element. So valency is nothing but combining capacity of an atom of an element. Combining capacity of an atom of an element is the valency of that element in that compound. Valency of that element in that compound, which is called as valency. That is the combining capacity of an element. So generally valency is expressed with respect to. So valency is expressed with respect to hydrogen, halogens, or oxygen. So already the concept is completed in your periodic table, boys. So valency of an element is generally expressed with respect to hydrogen, halogen, and oxygen. Okay. So what is this hydrogen? That means, so the number of hydrogens attached to an element is the valency. Is the valency. Number of hydrogens. Similarly, the number of halogens attached to the element is the valency. Number of halogens. Number of halogens. Next, the double the number of, it is important, double the number of oxygen atoms attached to an element is the value. So number of hydrogens, number of halogens, double the number of oxygen atoms. Number of hydrogens, number of halogens, double the number of oxygen atoms attached to an element is the valency of that element. So that means valency is expressed with respect to hydrogen, with respect to halogen, with respect to oxygen. So number of hydrogen atoms or number of halogen atoms or double the number of oxygen atoms is equal to valency. See here some examples I am trying to explain. See here, carbon dioxide. What is the valency of carbon in this compound? Valency of carbon. Here carbon connected with two oxygen atoms. Here with respect to oxygen we should explain. So that means valency of carbon is equal to, that is double the number of oxygen atoms. So here valency is expressed with respect to oxygen, boys. That is PCl5. PCl5. Here valency of phosphorus is equal to 5 because 5 halogens are attached. Number of halogens is equal to valency. That means with respect to halogen, valency of phosphorus is equal to 5. Next, NaH3. NaH3. So here valency of nitrogen is equal to 3 with respect to hydrogen. It is with respect to halogens, here with respect to oxygen. This is the way to express the valency of an element. So double the number of oxygen atoms or number of hydrogens or number of halogens attached to an element is equal to valency. So for example, HgO-F4. So in this molecule, what is the valency of a halogen? That is xenon. So that implies valency of xenon is equal to, see here, one oxygen, double the number of oxygens. That means 2 plus 4 halogens, 4 halogens. That means number of halogen atoms. That is equal to 4, which is equal to 6. Which is equal to 6. Like this. For example, XeO4 So what is the valency of xenon? Which is equal to 8, double the number of oxygen atoms. Next, XeO2F2. Tell me, boys, what is the valency of xenon? What is the valency of xenon? Here, 2 oxygens, 2 2's 4. Yes, 2 chlorines, 2 only. So 4 plus 2, that is equal to 6 is the valency of xenon. Like this, we should calculate valency condition. Valence. So that is number of halogens or number of hydrogens or double the number of oxygens is equal to valency of that element. So this is frequently we are using in entire chapter, my dear boys. Please keep in mind. Please keep in mind. Now, what are different theories to explain the formation of a chemical bond? So that means at the beginning of science, no one knows how a bond is formed. To explain the formation of bonds, different theories are available. Among all those theories, during the formation of chemical bonds, so the first theory that was given by Lewis and Kozal, that is called as Lewis-Kozal theory. So that is the first theory. So they are trying to explain how a chemical bond is formed. So that is our topic is Lewis-Kozal theory. Lewis-Kozal theory. What is this Lewis-Kozal theory? See, boys, here chemical bond formation generally takes place either by the loss of electrons, gaining of electrons, or sharing of electrons. So that is actually explained on the basis of this Lewis-Kozal theory. And this theory is mainly based on Bohr's atomic theory. Bohr's atomic theory. This theory is mainly based on Bohr's atomic theory. So which is also called as electronic theory. Electronic theory of valency. Electronic theory of valency, which is also called as Lewis-Kozal theory, is also called as electronic theory of valency. So the theory is based on Bohr's atomic theory. So already we know Bohr's atomic model. So that is there is a nucleus at the central atom. So at the center of the atom there is a nucleus. So all the protons are present inside the nucleus. Electrons are revolve around the nucleus in a closed circular path. Those paths are called as orbits. That is atomic structure. So that is so based on that. So he explained the concept. That is how valency is available. Okay. Now see, boys. Let us consider a cube. See here. See here. This is the cube, boys. Now this cube is stable or unstable depending on the arrangement of the atoms. So is this cube is stable or unstable? See here, that is, for example, only one atom is there. Those atoms are arranged at the corners of the cube. So these are the corners. Only one atom is there that is arranged at this position. That means this cube is unbalanced because only at this position is occupied. Okay. So 2 almost unbalanced. Here is not available. 3 unbalanced. 4 unbalanced. 5 unbalanced. 6 unbalanced. 7 unbalanced. But 8 is balanced. So every corner of the cube is occupied by one atom. Okay. So see here. So these are the atoms and these are the constituent particles. So these we assume that means arranged at the position of at the cube conditions. So that means at 8 atoms, at 8 condition, this cube is balanced. That means, so if it is this cube is an atom, so these are considered as valency electrons. These red circles are considered as valence electrons. If 1 is the valence electron, the atom is unstable. If 8 is the valence electron, the atom is stable. That means elements having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit, elements or atoms of an element having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit are very stable because of symmetry. Are very stable because of symmetry, as I explained, based on this cuboid. Based on this cuboid. That means atoms having 8 electrons, atoms having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit, in their outermost orbit are stable. Atoms having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit are stable. This is purely based on observed facts, because helium, neon, argon, all these are stable. Why those are stable? They don't know. So finally they concluded that, so except helium, remaining elements having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. So that means those noble gas elements are very, very stable because of 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. Because of 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. Okay. Every atom, a species, whatever it may be, trying to attain 8 electron configuration to get stability, to maintain the balanced situation of this fluid. Okay, because so atoms, most of the elements are solids, most form a cube system, and so cubic system, 8 corners are there. Every corner is maintained with an electron. Then only cube is bent. If for example, one electron is lost, so that means automatically that is unbalanced situation. Unbalanced. Now that atom is unstable. So this atom try to gain that one electron. How, sir? Either by losing electron, it is not possible. Then only one is required. Either by gaining electron or by sharing electron. Either by losing electron, gaining electron, or sharing electron. So according to Lewis, so every atom try to attain 8 electron configuration. So that 8 electron configuration is a stable configuration. That stable configuration is called as octet configuration. Octet configuration. So elements having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit are very, very stable. Elements having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit are very, very stable. That was explained by this Lewis and Posel. So that is called as octet group, except for hydrogen, helium, and lithium. So see here, helium, its atomic number is 2 boys. Electronic configuration 1 is 2, because the outermost orbit is first orbit. First orbit only contains 2 electrons. That means helium contains 2 electrons. It is a fully filled electronic configuration. So this electronic configuration is also stable configuration for smaller atoms, lighter elements. What are those lighter elements? Those are hydrogen, helium, lithium like elements. These are the lighter elements. For these lighter elements, they are trying to attain 2 electron configuration. This 2 electron configuration is called as doublet configuration. Doublet configuration. DUP. Doublet configuration. So very, very important. Doublet configuration. So generally lighter elements. Okay, beryllium also applicable voice. So but most of the elements must attain 8 electron configuration. 8 electron configuration. So boron may not be possible, boys. Okay. So that is why. So it is octet configuration, it is doublet configuration or duet configuration. Duet configuration. So that means lighter elements obeys doublet configuration and heavy elements obeys that is 8 electron configuration. Every atom of an element try to attain 8 electron configuration by losing electron, gaining electron, or by sharing electron. Okay, see here 3 ways to attain this 8 electron configuration. So that is so octet configuration. attained by elements either by losing electron, by gaining electron, or by sharing electron. Losing electron, gaining electron, or sharing electron. Losing or gaining electrons leads to the formation of ionic bonds. Ionic bond. Sharing of electrons leads to a covalent bond. That means, so chemical bond is of two types, boys. Chemical bond is of two types. One is ionic bond, another one is called as covalent bonds. So this ionic bond is also called as electrovalent bonds. Ionic bond is also called as electrovalent bonds. So ionic bond, which is also called as electrovalent bond. So this electrovalent or ionic bond is clearly explained by the scientist Kozelek. Ionic bond or covalent bond formation clearly explained by Kozelek. So covalent bond formation is explained by Lewis. Covalent bond concept is explained by Lewis. Okay, so this theory is called as Lewis-Kozel theory or Kozel-Lewis theory. Lewis-Kozel theory or Kozel-Lewis theory. So that is our theory, and electronic theory of valency. So that means, so valency 8 electron configuration. That means totally this concept is mainly depending on octet configuration. Mainly depending on octet configuration. Okay, so see here how a covalent bond is formed, how an ionic bond is formed. So that is, so all whatever I am explaining here about ionic bond, that is totally given by Kozel. That is, covalent bond is totally explained by Lewis. So now I am trying to explain ionic bond, boys. Ionic bond. So before going to take ionic bond, there are some limitations in octet rule. There are some limitations. So before going to take ionic bond formation, so first of all we are taking some limitations in octet rule. What is this octet rule? Octet rule means every atom must attain 8 electrons to get stability. So inert gas elements having 8 electrons in their outermost orbit, that is why inert gas elements are stable, as they have 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. Why inert gas elements are stable? Because they have 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. Why 8 electron configuration is stable configuration? Because that gives a stability because of symmetry. Symmetry that gives a symmetry to the cube. So that's why the 8 electron configuration is taken as a stable configuration. Stable configuration. Every inert gas element itself having 8 electron configuration. That's why they are not losing electrons, not gaining electrons, not sharing electrons. Because of itself they are stable. Okay, but some elements having more than 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. So elements or molecules having more than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit are very, very unstable. Boys, actually, according to this source, 8 electrons configuration is the stable configuration. Greater than 8 electrons or less than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit are unstable. So it is octet rule. Having 8 electrons stable, greater than 8 electrons or less than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit are unstable. This is octet rule. But some elements during their formation of compounds not follows this octet rule. That means they violate this octet rule. Even though they have more than 8 electrons or less than 8 electrons in their outermost orbit, they are also stable. So that concept is not explained by this octet. So that is the limitations of this theory. So see here, what are those limitations? What are those limitations? So the first one, that means PCl5. PCl5. Next, SF6. SF6. So like these molecules, so central atom having greater than 8 electrons. Central atom having greater than 8 electrons. That is why we expect these are unstable, but these are stable. But these are stable, even though having greater than 8 electrons. This type of molecules having 8 electrons, greater than 8 electrons in their outermost orbit are considered as electron rich molecules. Electron rich molecules having more than 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. See here, PCl5, phosphorus, Cl, 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 Cl. 5 chlorines. Each bond is equal to 2 electrons. I will explain why, sir. So each bond is equal to 2 electrons. 5 twos, 10 electrons. 5 twos, so 5 bonds, 10 electrons only. So greater than 8 electrons. That's why it is electron rich molecule, but it is still stable, but we expected unstable. So why, sir? No answer here. No answer here. Next, SF6, sulfur with 6 fluorines, 6 bonds only. 6 bonds. So total 6 bonds means, so add sulfur 6 bonds. 6 bonds means 12 electrons, greater than 8 electrons. Automatically we expected instability, but that SF6 molecule is stable. Why? No answer. But that means these molecules having more than 8 electrons in their outermost orbit. More than 8 electrons in their outermost orbit of the central atom. So these are electron-rich molecules. Generally, electron-rich molecules are formed by the elements of 15th group elements, 16th group elements, and 17th group elements. So these elements generally form. These group elements generally form. So this is electron-rich molecule. That means, so in particular, third period onwards, third period, fourth period. So like this, those period elements, those group and those period elements generally violates this rule. They give more than 8 electrons. More than 8 electrons at the central atom of the molecule. So next, so it is electron-rich molecules, and so those are formed by 15, 16, 17 group, and third period and fourth period onwards, not for second period elements first. Not for second period elements, third period onwards. So those group elements generally not obeys this octet configuration. Next one. It is first limitation. It is first limitation. Next. In some molecules, central atom having less than 8 electrons. In some molecules, central atom having less than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit. In the outermost orbit. That type of molecules are called as electron deficient molecules. Less than 8 electrons. Electron deficient molecules. So what are electron deficient molecules? Those are the molecules having less than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit of a central atom. Less than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit of a central atom, that is called as electron deficient molecules. So see here what happened, that is for second group elements, second year or second group. Second group elements, beryllium, BeCl2 is formed. BeCl2. Next, third group elements, aluminum, AlCl3 is formed. AlCl3. So BCl3 is formed, boron. So beryllium, magnesium chloride, MgCl3 is formed. So these elements, these compounds having less than 8 electrons in the outermost orbit. See here, AlCl3, AlCl3. So 3 bonds only, boys. 3 bonds means 3 to 6 electrons are less than 8 electrons. So that means Al is electron deficient. That's why this molecule is electron deficient molecule. This molecule is electron deficient molecule. So see here, very important, BeCl2. So 2 chlorines. So 2 bonds. 2 bonds means only 4 electrons at the center atom, less than 8 electrons. But these are stable. We expected these are unstable, but these are stable. So why? No reason from this octet rule. No reason from this octet rule. So that means electron-rich molecules, electron-deficient molecules, we expected as unstable, but these are stable molecules. Why those are stable? Not explained by this octet rule. These are the limitations of this octet rule. Next, so a bond means 2 electrons. A bond means 2 electrons. Every bond having 2 electrons. So a bond means 2 electrons, but in some compounds there is a 3 electron bond. In some compounds there is a 3 electron bond. What is that? See here. See boys, in NORA, nitric oxide. Okay, so in this nitric oxide, that is between nitrogen and oxygen, there is 2 ordinary covalent bonds and a 3 electron bond exists. A 3 electron bond. Here with 3 electrons, a bond is formed. This bond is called as a 3 electron bond. Because 3 is the odd number, that is why this bond is also called as odd electron bond. Odd electron bond. Why, sir? Why this odd electron bond is formed? How this odd electron bond is formed? Not explained by this theory. Because bond is nothing but 2 electrons. But here 3 electron bond exists. So that means the formation of this odd electron bond is not explained by this Lewis. There is nothing but in particular octet rule. Octet rule failed means Lewis-Kozel theory failed. Okay, so this is very important. This is very important. So that means, so generally octet rule is mostly applicable for second period elements. So generally octet rule is applicable for second period elements, but third period onwards, so the rule is not applicable. In most of the cases not applicable. So these are some drawbacks in Lewis-Kozel, that is Lewis-Kozel theory, and also in particular octet rule. These are the failures of octet rule, but still we are explaining for stability, we follow octet rule. Because so that is a very convenient way to explain the stability. Very convenient way to explain the stability. Okay, boys? Okay.